Now, I've been trying to work a little bit more with this three aspects of money: the gift, the loan, the purchase money. Gift money, it's free, no ties or conditions. A loan, there's usually contract and conditions. You know, you go to the bank and they'll have all sorts of conditions and so on it. But also in this whole area, conditions, there'll be conditions and consequences, but sometimes a contract may involve a salary. And then purchase, the money is used as a means of exchange. The goods go one way and money goes the other. It's a kind of spiritual reflection. Physically things go this way, spiritually the money goes the other way. Because money, it's not the coins, it's not the paper. You know, a piece of paper, it actually is worthless. It's what's written on it. That's the value. Or even with a coin, there's something stamped. But actually a coinage, the gold, you probably find now the commodity value of gold is much higher than if you've had a guinea or a crown or something. The amount of gold in that would be worth, I don't know, $1,000 or something. Much more than the sort of face price of it. But a piece of paper, what does it have written on it? This note is legal tender for $1. It's a contract. It's a social contract. And it only works if I have $1 and I trust that this is worth $1 and you trust that it's worth $1, then I can exchange it over and we can exchange that. So it's a whole element there. And then, it's coming down to this next part here. But this whole means of exchange I've called lubrication of the flow. If you had no money, you have to do kind of bartering. You know, somebody bought eggs. Well, hang on. Here, look, I've got a lot of carrots. Will you swap these carrots for the eggs? Well, actually, I've got a lot of carrots myself. You know, and then what do we do? Or you want to buy a shirt. You go into the shop and say, well, I've got a lot of potatoes and a whole lot of eggs. Can we kind of come to an arrangement? You know, the money sort of eases, you know, you can get past the bartering stage because it somehow you can separate the two and allows transactions to happen without having to go through the bartering in that way. Now, some other aspects of gift. And this money, that in this kind of money, there's a transfer of wealth. And here, this establishing value and fair price belongs in the middle, the social thing, because often value comes about. Say you're selling a house. You negotiate with what's the price. You know, there's a going price and you work it. But eventually, there's a contract that say, I pay so much and you get the title deeds to the house. You know, there's and you'll come and you actually establish the value at that moment. You know, I don't know if you have government valuation. We have government valuation things. They go around say, the government valuation for this property is something. But as soon as you sell it, then they have to change it because that's the real value at the moment you sell it. Does that make sense to you? That this is a kind of process of establishing value comes in this middle realm. And here, the process of money here is creating profit. And what on earth does that mean? Creating profit. Well, let's go. Perhaps somebody is a baker, has baked a loaf of bread that's sitting on his counter. And he has an empty pocket. And he's hoping that somebody will come past the door who has a pocket with some money in it and an empty stomach. And he comes in and they say, look, you've got a nice loaf of bread, but I've got some dollars. And again, there will be a kind of exchange. And after the exchange, both people should have made a profit. I feel better off because I've got a loaf of bread, and I value that more than the money in my pocket. So I've made an exchange. The baker is there, said, well, I've made this bread and it's going to be stale by tomorrow. I also feel better off that I've now got the money and not the bread. You see that there's actually both through this, both feel that they've made a profit. So this is in this purchasing process. Going down here, there's the money has also kind of different characteristics. It's interesting, you see the oldest kind of money is gold, silver, copper, the stamped coinage. That usually with the face of the king on it or something, and before that they might have been just valuable objects. You say, this are tokens for money. But Gavin Tang puts in his thing, he said, this belongs to the, what he calls the sentient soul age, because with the money, you can admire it, you can feel it, you can weigh it, you can bite it, whatever you do to kind of feel your connection with this lustrous money. It's right there. And then it comes into the next post-Atlantean period, the Greco-Roman one, when the Romans became the first setting up the laws. Instead of the heavenly laws, they had human laws in their forums. They worked out, this is agreements of how we're going to run. And so there would be this whole idea of making contracts and laws. And you see paper printed notes and legal tender, they're like lots of little agreements. And mind you, it was quite well on until those came about. It was really in the Crusades that these sort of things happened. That you had a paper note. If you want to go on a crusade, you didn't want to be tearing along great big heavy bags of coinage. So you went to the Templars, the Templar Knights. And you take your gold into one of their places and say, look, here's some gold. And you would exchange that and for a lot of notes, which would said, please give the bearer of this note so many gold coins. So you could carry the little piece of paper and you'd go to a Templar place and present it and all the signatures, and then you could get the money out, and then you could do local transactions. So that was the beginning of the first paper notes. It's a kind of legal arrangement, and that people would agree. It's again always a matter of social agreement that the Templar Knights in a new place would recognize this, the value and legality of this note, and honor the transaction. And nowadays, in the fifth post-Atlantean period, since the Renaissance, when they started inventing accounting, double entry accounting and so on, you have what's called ledger money. All the money you have is probably in a bank account, right? And you're not going to go in there and say, can you open up my little cubicle and I'd like to have a look at all the money that's there. There's no gold coins or silver bullion or whatever it is. At the account, and nowadays it's not even on paper. There's a ledger there that says, an accountant lists all your transactions, and you can look it up, and there's a line on the account saying balance this. It's an accounting entry. There's no money there. Well, there's not no money there.